Hi everybody, this is just a quick short video talking about paper, ink, the different kind of Copic markers that you may want to know more about or hear about. Very quick. I use Gina K, her pure luxury cardstock in the 120-pound weight. It's truly the best that I've tried. I had been using Paper Tray Ink's white cardstock, which I loved, but then Gina K came out with this paper, and it's just fabulous. Your Copics do not bleed through, so if you're coloring an image directly on your card, you don't have to cover up the backside. Your ink also does not sink down into the paper, so it makes it a lot easier to blend your Copics on this paper. Not to mention that you use less ink because you're not getting that bleed through. So it's definitely the best I've tried, and I've tried pretty much all the brands out there, and this is by far is my favorite. I get a lot of questions about the different kind of Copic markers. 90% of my markers are sketch. I like them. They're flat, they don't roll around, and as you can see, my chow kind of rolled around there. When I'm working, I usually have, I can have 20 to 40 markers out on the table, so I don't like them getting away from me. I also store mine horizontally. You can also store them vertically. I like that they have the name of the color and the number easy to grab when I'm looking for them. I don't have to pull them all out to read what color they are. And that's pretty much the main difference between the Copic Sketch and the Copic Chow. They both have the blunt chisel edge and the marker edge. Brush edge, I guess. This is the end that I use most of the time. These are round, so they do roll. They hold less ink. I don't know if that's a concern for you or not. They are a little bit cheaper, the Chows. So if you don't mind that they don't have the name and number in the end cap, and that they hold a little less ink, then, either or. Like I said, they both do the same thing. One other note I'll point out is that the Sketch come in more colors than the Chow, so you may end up having to get a few Sketch because the Chows do not come in all those colors. I also, if you have more than 10 markers, you should print out the Copic marker color chart. This one is directly from the Copic.com site, and I have a link on my blog on my sidebar on the tips and tricks sheet that I wrote out. You can go directly to it and print it out. Make sure you print it on whatever paper it is that you're using to color on. If you print this out on just regular inkjet paper, you're not going to get the true color. It's going to come out either lighter or darker. So you want to print it out on the paper that you're using. And I use this every day to match up my pattern paper. I have a lot of favorite colors. Obviously, I know the color, but lots of times, I will take my DP and just kind of, if I want an exact match, I'll just pull this out. And you can, if you have the Chows, like I have a few Chows, so I have circled on my sheet which ones are Chows, just so when I'm looking around, it's easy for me to pull those particular markers out. But this is definitely a must-have if you've gotten 10 or more markers. And I use Memento ink in Tuxedo Black. I love it. It doesn't bleed with your Copics. It also does not need to be heat set, so you can stamp and then color right away. So yes, you can stamp your stamp and color right away. You do not have to heat set it. I've also used the Adirondack Pitch Black. Same thing, you can stamp and color right away. There's no bleed through. Do not use a stays-on ink. It will bleed. It will ruin the tips of your markers, and you will have to replace the tips, which you can buy new tips for both your Copic Sketch and Chow. So definitely do not use a permanent ink like a stays-on. That is more for watercoloring and not for Copics. So, but Memento is my favorite. I really love it. And like I said, you do not have to heat set it before And for me, time is everything, and the less I have to do is great. Another quick tip I wanted to talk about, I think that this Copic multi-liner is a must-have. I have both the 0.3 and the 0.8. The 0.3 is a little thinner, and it's really great for if you've stamped and maybe your image isn't clean or you've missed a little spot, you can actually fill that spot in on your stamped image and not have to worry about your Copics bleeding. If you use a regular black marker, sometimes it will cause bleeding in your image. So definitely a must-have. You can obviously write with this too. So definitely something you should invest in. And then of course we have the colorless blender, which is a must-have. It also has two edges like the other markers, brush and chisel. I use the chisel edge, and I will show you in my next video, to actually smush color back into the lines if I've made a mistake. You can move color around with it. It actually takes color away, so you want to remember that when you're using it. To lighten an image, I would use the brush end lightly, and I will explain more about that, but this is definitely another must-have if you're going to invest in some Copic markers. So, and those are kind of my little tips and tricks and what I use for the Copics.